So I'm joined by Alistair Croll and Sean Power, authors of Complete Web Monitoring, and two of the speakers at this morning's Web 2.0 Expo session, Applied Communalytics. Did I get that name right? Communalytics? Okay. Sean, so first question I have for you, what is Communalytics?
So Communalytics is the act of measuring online interactions that you have with the goal of tying them to whatever business goal that you have. So whatever your business sees value in, whether that's making money online or raising your engagement level by garnering more attention or garnering more reputation. Ultimately, Communalytics is simply measuring to see whether or not or where you are in relation to that goal, and also give you indicators so that you can measure if you're actually reaching them or getting closer to reaching them.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that there's two kinds of analytics. There's analytics that's sort of scorekeeping, where am I? And then there's analytics with the goal of optimization, can I make it better? And as the community management and social media technology industry matures, we're starting to see a movement towards which of these approaches works better, which of these two messages are people more receptive to, a lot more sort of experimentation and A/B testing. And these are things that have been done in web analytics for 15 years, but we're only now applying them to online communities.
Right. So what are the most important community analytics? What are the things that people should really be paying attention to?
Well, I tend to like the metrics that focus on things that are hard for people to do. So if it's very easy to visit a website, but it's hard to sign up and buy something, or harder, then how many people actually signed up and bought something is a much better metric. If it's easy to retweet something, but it's harder to follow someone and retweet and converse with them over time, that's a better metric. And so it tends to be that metrics that are deceptively easy, someone gets excited about followers or visits to their page, that's not that meaningful. Someone who gets excited about measures of engagement, how likely I am to give you permission to contact me, subscribing to a feed, those are really good metrics. Anything that shows that you're building up a relationship with someone else.
Yeah, but that unless the follower count ties into a specific goal for your business, right? I think the most important thing is, I mean, anything goes so long as it helps you understand more clearly that business goal that you have. So if my business goal is I want more street cred and I want to seem more hip or whatever, I don't know. Let's say like I'm a pop star. One of the first levels to being able to understand that would presumably be followers, right? Especially if I'm baselining myself against, let's say, other singers who are of equal stature as me and may have, let's say, 500,000 more followers and may get 500,000 times more engagement by retweets and so on than I do. So I think it really, to me, the thing that matters the most is what metrics count towards whatever goal that you have. And there can be hundreds, and there can be maybe a couple.
Sure, I think the key here is metrics that are just for bragging rights aren't that useful. Metrics that are correlated with the business outcome you want, like more followers, more contribution, more purchases, more productive users, more engaged, those are metrics you care about.
How about metrics that we shouldn't be paying attention to?
Well, ones that are easy, right?
Ones that don't tie into your business goal.
There's a lot of buzz, someone on the golf course says, oh, I hear I should have followers, or I should have a lot of friends on Facebook. Well, unless you can tell me why that changes your balance sheet income statement, I'm probably not that interested.
Okay.
And like I find that whenever it is that I'm aimlessly going to my analytics accounts to try and find numbers or whatever, an hour later I'm looking at cats on YouTube. And it's mostly because like if I don't have like an idea of what I'm looking for, if I don't know what my goals are and I'm just like screwing around looking at numbers, chances are that I won't find anything meaningful. I may stumble upon something, and that might be cool, but I find that it's important to understand what a meaningful metric is first, so that right off the bat when I'm looking at my analytics portals, I know to discard a whole bunch of numbers that I don't need. And those numbers that are being discarded, though they may be useful tomorrow or they might have been useful yesterday, are to me the metrics that don't matter, the metrics that are bad.
Yeah. Can you point to any examples of good social media campaigns?
I think a staple of a good social media campaign and a good social media reaction even is one where there's a lot of discussion. I'm hesitating to use the word engagement because it's such a buzzword these days, but really, like, I think people who have reacted in timely fashions to incidents that could have been labeled as bad, or people who have launched campaigns where they've been very, very present and open to feedback, have overwhelmingly, I've seen, been very, very positive.
Yeah, I think the key is that good social media campaigns know what they're trying to do. Are you trying to make money? Are you trying to communicate awareness? Are you trying to solicit donations, whatever? And they know how to bring something to a conversation that people will want to discuss. Anybody who comes in and says, look, I got this thing here, we should talk about it, and then it joins that conversation and a buzz builds around that conversation. Really, really successful. When people try to force the issue and it doesn't sort of grow naturally, then it doesn't work so well.
So along those lines, along those lines, are there campaigns that have run that just have not worked at all?
I think a lot of how good an organization is how it responds to a crisis. Sean was talking about the Scholastic issue that's going on right now, and how Scholastic deals with this issue is going to show whether they handled it well or badly. Part of that is transparency. Part of that is being genuine, figuring out a resolution, because they have an opportunity to build a huge brand for themselves and say, look, we handled this really well, or to look like they're clueless. You want to explain a little about the...
Yeah, so there's a woman who won a contest. I feel super bad. She's 17 years old, and if she sees this, I'm sorry, but I mean, she kind of stole something from someone else on DeviantArt, and that thing that she stole ended up winning her a full scholarship to like a New York institute or a New York college or university of some kind. So she got the scholarship. She got admittance to the university on June 6th. She's getting. There's a gala that's being thrown in her name. Whoops, it turns out that she actually ripped off the stuff that she submitted. Now, where Scholastic comes in is that the guy who originally created the piece of art found out about it, but couldn't find anyone at Scholastic who cared or even found a way to be able to communicate with them. So where it said here's how to reach us if if you have any issues or whatever, those addresses either didn't work or weren't published or were erroneous. And so now the lens is being turned towards Scholastic to see what's going to happen. What are they going to do? And just recently, Citibank had an issue where someone in the company had done something that could have been seen to be very questionable. It had to do with an alternative lifestyle site that was labeled as porn when it was clearly not. And Citibank was able to save a lot of face by at least responding relatively quickly so that the incident was put behind them and they were able to move on.
So inverting that a bit, what do you feel are the most important community management skills? What should people be doing to foster community?
I think a community manager has to have tremendous empathy, because their job is to understand what their community wants. And I think from a formal sense, they have to have very good transparency. As long as your motives are clearly stated and out there. We're getting a lot of people calling us saying, look, we have 70 different ways for people to reach us. We don't even know which ones are working. And with the explosion of social platforms, you got a Facebook group, a Twitter account, all these things. How does that all work? Even if it's a website where you fill in a form, where does that go? Is there consistent treatment of that? So we're seeing a lot of people saying, help us just audit that, because there's this sort of contact sprawl that companies are dealing with right now. So I think being very transparent, listening across all the channels where you say you're going to listen. So maybe you need to have fewer channels, but be very active on them, and being empathetic for your audience.
Yeah, internally transparent, externally patient.
Great. Last question I had for you. Mobile is obviously exploding, but analytics doesn't seem to have caught up with it quite yet. So any recommendations on where mobile analytics are going and what people should be paying attention to there?
So first of all, there's two kinds of mobile analytics. There's mobile analytics that the carriers think of, which is analyzing how many SMS versus mobile messages. The carriers kind of opened up this Pandora's box because they put IP on the phones. And everyone said, we'll just use that. We're not going to tell you what we're doing. So there are companies like Neuralytic that are analyzing for the carriers who's doing what, because they want to actually be able to offer value-added services, voicemail and stuff. They can't analyze that. More interestingly is, I think, what a lot of people confuse with mobile analytics is app analytics. So if you think about the change, when I put an app on a phone, it's very hard to do A/B testing. If I wanted to test website, I could serve one version to you, one version to Sean, and see which one of you did more things. And if I do that often enough, I'm running an experiment, I've got some results. I can't do that with an app. I mean, I can, but it's very difficult. I'm going to push an app out there, everyone's going to have that experience, and I don't get to choose which version of the app you use every time you launch it. So embedding the analytics very quickly and doing that experimentation doesn't work. The other thing that's really important about mobile apps is that for the last 20 years, we've made the fundamental assumption we were sitting at a desk. With mobile apps, you need a lot of context. Am I reading the thing to someone verbally because my app is reading them the news because they're driving? Is there, what physical location are they in? With whom are they hanging out? All the contextual stuff about mobility. So even knowing whether the phone is stationary or moving around a lot could be very useful. And so we didn't really segment by situational awareness. And with mobile analytics, that's going to be a much bigger part of it.
Actions are going to be important. It's really going to be about actions.
Great. Well, thank you very much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.